This happened to me back in the summer of 1987, and even now, almost 40 years later, I can close my eyes and smell the salt air off Waikiki like it was yesterday. I was 32 years old, full of fire, running a software company out of a little office park in Mountain View, California, that I'd built from absolutely nothing with a woman I'd known since we were 16 years old. Her name was Diane Marie Ellison, my best friend since junior year at Lincoln High in Tacoma, Washington, the girl who sat behind me in chemistry and passed me notes when the teacher wasn't looking, the same girl who drove with me all the way to California in a beat-up '79 Datsun with everything we owned tied to the roof because we swore we were going to change the world. We started Pacific Systems in my garage in 1977 with $23,000 we scraped together from credit cards, second mortgages on our parents' houses, and every odd job we could find. 10 years later, by the spring of '87, that little garage dream was worth $41 million on paper. We had 140 employees, offices in 3 states, and Forbes magazine had just put the two of us on the cover with the headline, "The future is friendly. 2 childhood friends conquer Silicon Valley." I was the loud one, the salesman, the guy who could walk into any boardroom and make venture capitalists open their checkbooks. Diane was the quiet genius, the one who actually wrote the code that made our database software run faster and smarter than anything else on the market. At least that's the story we told the world, and that's the story I believed with every fiber of my being. By early 1987 I was burned out worse than I'd ever been in my life. I hadn't taken more than a long weekend off in 8 years. I was living on coffee and adrenaline, snapping at people, forgetting my own kids' birthdays. Diane saw it long before I did. One Thursday night in June we were working late, just the two of us in the office like the old days, and she poured me a scotch, looked me dead in the eye, and said, "You're going to kill yourself if you don't stop. Take 10 days in Hawaii. Alone. No laptop, no phone calls, nothing. I've got everything under control here. You deserve this more than anyone I know." She even booked the ticket herself, first class, to the Royal Hawaiian on Waikiki, the Pink Palace right on the beach. I laughed and told her she was crazy, that there was no way I could just disappear for 10 days. She just smiled that calm, steady smile she'd had since we were teenagers and said, "Trust me. I'll hold down the fort." The morning I left she showed up at my house with a thick manila folder and said, "These are just some routine tax updates and insurance renewals the lawyers need signed before the end of the quarter. Sign them quick so you don't miss your flight." I was running late, suitcase half-zipped, kids yelling, so I flipped through the pages, scrawled my name on every signature line she'd flagged with little yellow arrows, handed it back, kissed my wife goodbye, and jumped in the cab. I never read a single word. Because it was Diane. While I was drinking piña coladas and watching the sun set over Diamond Head, Diane executed the coldest, cleanest betrayal I've ever heard of in all my years in business. She used those signatures to call an emergency board meeting 2 days after I left. She told the board I'd had a complete nervous breakdown, that I'd been secretly addicted to painkillers for years, that I was a liability to the company and its investors. She produced letters on real doctor letterhead from a psychiatrist in San Francisco I'd never met in my life claiming I'd been treated for severe depressive episodes and substance dependency. She played recorded phone calls, my voice slurring, talking nonsense, calls she'd pieced together from old voicemails and edited herself. Then she invoked a clause she'd quietly added to the bylaws 2 years earlier when we refinanced, a bad lever provision that let the board strip a founder of all shares if they were deemed mentally unfit. The board, 3 people we'd hired together over the years, people who'd had dinner at my house, voted unanimously to remove me as CEO and cancel every single share I owned. All perfectly legal. All airtight. By the time my plane touched down at San Francisco International on July 4, 1987, my office had been cleared out, my nameplate was gone, my parking spot had been reassigned, and Diane was sitting behind my desk wearing the solid gold Rolex Submariner I'd bought her for her 35th birthday. She looked up when I walked in, gave me that same calm smile, and said, "Welcome home, partner. You no longer work here. Security will escort you out." I went from flying private to sleeping on my brother's couch in San Jose in less than 30 days. My bank accounts were frozen because they were company accounts, my credit cards were maxed, and the story Diane had planted in the press was everywhere. Pacific Systems founder steps down amid health struggle. Friends stopped calling. Investors looked away. I sold my car, pawned my watches, took night security jobs at parking garages just to put food on the table for my kids. For 9 solid months I was a ghost. But I never stopped digging. I paid a retired FBI forensic accountant out of Oakland everything I had left to go through every line of code, every invoice, every bank transfer Diane had touched since 1985. It took months, but we found it all: secret offshore accounts in the Caymans, fake vendor contracts that funneled millions to companies owned by her sister, $15 million in credit lines she'd taken out using my forged signature on the very papers I'd signed the morning I left for Hawaii. I had mountains of proof, but the lawyers told me it would take 5 years and $10 million. I didn't have to fight her in court. So I went dark. Found Frank Moretti, the very first angel investor who'd written us a $50,000 check back in 1978 when nobody else would touch us. Frank never believed Diane's story. He spent 8 months quietly buying up secondary shares on the open market until we controlled just over 10%. That was the magic number needed to force a special shareholder vote. The annual meeting was scheduled for March 15, 1988, at the Fairmont Hotel in San Francisco. Diane walked in like a queen, $10,000 dress, photographers flashing, champagne flowing, ready to give her triumphant state of the company address. That's when I walked in wearing the only decent suit I still owned. Frank was on my left, the forensic accountant on my right, and 2 federal marshals in plain clothes behind me. I took the microphone from the podium and said, "Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Most of you know me. I'm the co-founder Diane just tried to erase. And I'm calling an immediate vote to remove her as CEO for fraud, embezzlement, and breach of fiduciary duty." I hit the projector button and slide after slide went up, forged signatures side by side with the real ones, Cayman's bank statements, the taped phone call where Diane bragged to her sister, "He'll never prove a thing, he's too broken now." The room went dead silent. The vote took 3 minutes. 97% wanted her gone. Hotel security escorted her out while she screamed that everything was hers now. It wasn't. The judge awarded me full ownership, $26 million in damages, and Diane was indicted on federal wire fraud and identity theft charges. She took a plea, 8 years in prison, full restitution. Today that same company is worth close to $500 million, and I still keep the original partnership agreement we signed on a Denny's napkin in 1977 framed on my office wall. Sometimes I walk past it, tap the glass, and say out loud, 50-50 forever, Diane, except I just took my 100% back. So that's my story, straight from the scars. If somebody you trusted with your life ever offers to hold your dream while you go on vacation, maybe take 5 minutes and read the papers first. Trust is a beautiful thing, but a good lawyer and a better friend are worth their weight in gold. If you've ever had someone stab you in the back like that, leave it in the comments. I still read every single one at my age. Hit that subscribe button if you believe the house always wins in the end. It just sometimes takes a few extra hands to get there. I'll see you next week with another one straight from my own life. Good night.